Welcome to the Wisdom Circle. To subscribe or follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, please visit us at www.thewisdomcircle.com.
Good day to everyone, depending on when you're seeing this. It's great to have you. It's the 9th episode of the Wisdom Circle with my friend and colleague, Tony Ponturo. From many years ago, we've known and worked with each other and still talking after all these years, 46 to be exact. We're excited to have our guest today. Her name is Emily Gardella. Emily started her career with our producer, Ramon, and me at Comcast, and has gone on to really good things. Really excited for her and really excited to have her on the show. Tony, is a name in the business who he and I talked months ago about starting this, and we are episode 9, so we're still having fun, still getting it done. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Ray. The summer's flying by, but it's always like, the U.S. Open starts today, U.S. Open tennis, and, being a bit of an ex-New Yorker, it always sort of symbolizes to me, okay, summer's over, Labor Day's here, School's almost back in session, and it's time for, the playoffs of baseball and the NFL start of the season, so it's a fun time of the year.
Yeah, moms across the country are smiling, and dads as they see the vision of the school bus as it leaves from the bus stop on that first day of school. Some cry, some are happy, many are both, but it is that time, and you're exactly right. It is the U.S. tennis, U.S. Open tennis that signals it here in the New York area. So
yeah,
So what else is going on with you? You're doing some interesting work.
Well, it's an interesting observation yesterday. I don't know if you caught it, but it actually brought tears to my eyes, and I'm an easy, crier. Show me a good Hallmark Hall of Fame card, not Hall of Fame, there's Hallmark card, but Florida, Lake Mary, just about 20 miles north of Orlando, plays Chinese Taipei, which is really Taiwan, and it goes into extra innings. So it goes into, basically the 8th inning. And like Major League Baseball, once they go into extra innings, they put a runner on second base. So it's still tied. Florida gets up on second. The guy bunts, really great bunt, down the first base line. The pitcher gets it, throws it to first base, except no one's at first base. The second baseman doesn't cover the bag. So that's the end of the game. But the reason I bring it up is the Florida team, before they celebrated, they went over to the Taiwan team and hugged them and consoled them before they celebrated in front of them. And I thought it was a great kudos to the coach, to these young kids, to their parents, because it was like, it wasn't just about us, right? It's not about me. It was like, we know how they feel. Let us console them. Let us hug them. And then we'll celebrate. I thought it was a great example of sportsmanship.
And that's such a great place for it to start, right? At the younger levels, lower levels of baseball, but the youth of America hopefully carry that through. I have a quick story, and it's about baseball too, which is really more life for many of us who grew up with baseball. 3 18-year-olds came over to our house to spend last Saturday night. They were in a wiffle ball tournament in Yap Hank. And I do all my me search when I have youth in front of me. So we're having dinner in the backyard, and so how's it going? What's your favorite sport? Now they came out for a wiffle ball tournament, so it wasn't exactly a gimme. And they're like, baseball. Like, what else would it be? Sometimes you hear basketball, sometimes you hear soccer, sometimes you hear football. And they all said, no, we watch all 9 innings of every game. They were watching baseball into the night. When they went down, we said, okay, 11 o'clock, lights out. And you can do whatever you want downstairs. And the baseball was running. They were watching replays. So baseball, they're kind of a little bit maybe getting it done in a way where they are bringing more or keeping that base a little bit. I don't know. What do you think? Because everybody says baseball's dead. It's NBA, NFL, soccer, I was encouraged. Not that I'm fighting for baseball, but like it was just interesting to me.
Yeah, no, you got to compliment them because MLB, Major League Baseball, has tried to evolve and become more relevant. It's like a
Yeah.
brand that they said, if we don't do something, we're going to die on the vine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and as I observe, obviously the pace of play has changed.
Yep.
I think they've cut at least 30 minutes out of the gameplay. And then the uniforms are really starting to get cool. Obviously a lot of this is licensing driven, where all of a sudden the Milwaukee Brewers have things called Brew Crew, and they're bright blue colors, and you had a Major League Baseball player that used a bat that actually looked like a number two pencil. So it's in some circles it may seem corny and not traditional, but as any brand, it's like, okay, we respect our fans that have been with us for 50 years, but if we don't turn on the fans that are coming through the entry portal, we're not going to have a brand. So kudos to MLB because it seems to be working.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I also agree on merch. There was an issue of Sports Business Journal a couple of weeks ago that talked about minor league baseball. I have like 7 minor league baseball hats. I just love the teams and the colors, and they're fun. And the article basically said that's how they make their money. I mean, it's not on ticket sales. It's they make it by having 7 different caps, hats, jerseys. They have a Hispanic week, which is fantastic, by the way. Um, and last night I was watching Sunday Night Football, and I saw the Washington Commanders. Typically, and this goes back to days that I'm glad they are now the Commanders. But they were a red and yellow team, and this team was wearing, all black, head to toe, with yellow numbers. I think they might have had a red line on the back of the players' jerseys. But it was just like, okay, more to sell. And so the merch thing really seems to have been kind of amped up. I guess everybody wants to be current, right? I mean, except me. But that's
Well,
okay.
when you get outside, yeah, I mean, I'm 20 miles from Savannah, Georgia, here in Hilton Head, and the Savannah bananas have just taken off, and people, and I observed it when I lived in St. Louis with Anheuser-Busch. It's like families are looking for something to do where the whole family can do it.
Yeah,
And baseball in the summer serves that if you do it right and it's a comfortable environment, there's fun things to do for the kids. Savannah Bananas probably started with 1,000 people in the stands, and now they did a little tour and they sold out 50,000 seat arenas. So people are looking for fun, family entertainment. I was thinking, just to digress a little bit, as I was walking my dog this morning. You don't hear this much anymore. Remember when players would say, "Well, it's just a game." Professional players, it's just a game. Well, you don't hear that much anymore because the dollars have gotten so big. It sort of looks sort of false and a little cynical to say, "Oh yeah, it's just a game," when someone's making $10 million a year. It's not just a game; it's a business.
yeah,
And so I think we sort of look for some things. We respect the business, as we just talked about MLB, but some of these other things that are pure and just about the game, I think, sort of resonate as well.
yeah. No, I totally agree. It's exactly right. So good. I mean, I guess it's all got to be offered up in a way that is fun and entertaining, and experiential is a new way to market. And so you do all that. So anyway,
Okay.
that's more to come on that topic. I think there's more so much change in the system. It's really interesting. But I think for now, we should ask our guest host, Emily Gardella, to come in, and we'll have a chat.
Sounds good.
Welcome, Emily Gardella. It's great to have you this morning. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Nice to meet you, Emily. We're meeting sort of for the first time. Heard a lot
Yes,
about you, so looking forward to our conversation.
yes, me too. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Emily is a just a great story, and I'm happy to have played any role in Emily's trajectory, which is all up. Our producer Ramon Ramos brought Emily into Comcast Regional Sports Network research back in the day, And Emily was, is that your first like full-time job out of college?
Yep. I actually
Ah,
interned. I did the internship first and then
right.
came on after I graduated.
Well, you were, and there's something about, I have a friend who just wrote a book on how to be a great intern. I think that's another episode. But you were a great intern. I remember it was almost like you couldn't tell the difference. Your passion and your hard work was so evident, and your insights were coming along really like, whoa, okay. Hang on to Emily as long as we can. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about, um, you know, things that you have seen and done. I know, Tony and I have some some conversation we'll have about moving to that next level of management and then to the C-suite, if you will. So we can talk about that. Uh, we can talk about that now if you'd like, and we can then go to just more conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, but let's switch it up a little bit. Maybe I'll ask the questions first this time. Um,
Fantastic.
so Yeah, so I just about a month ago I was promoted to director. So I'm
Congrats.
now managing for really the first time. So
Hmm.
as a first time manager, it's a little tough. So I would love your advice and your opinion as a first time manager, first time, in the C-suite, going back. Would you change anything? What was the hardest thing for you? What advice would you give to me and other
Yeah,
new leaders and managers?
it's I was going to say a dangerous step, and I think it can be. Um, but I want to ask Tony to go first. I just threw out my impulse word. Um, Tony, why don't you start talking
Yeah,
about your first step?
yeah. I think the key, when I was at Anheuser-Busch, so it's a little older. I was 39 and got the media sports marketing department, which was 150 people actually, because we did everything in house. So it's a bit intimidating. And what I learned doing it is a couple of things. One is uh, you have to show as the leader confidence in what you're doing and willingness that we're all part of the team. There's a lot of leaders that when it all goes bad, they're tough to find, right? Or it's they blame it on someone else. Your staff needs to see that you're all in it together, and they also want to see consistency. So how you treat everybody is a consistent way. They don't want to see any teachers' pets, if you will. And that's really important. I believe, and Ray's heard this a lot, is that we're all a brand, right? So, and we represent ourselves even when we know we're not representing ourselves because people are always observing us. And like any brand, what are you looking for? Like if you like a soft drink, if you like Coca Cola, if you like Budweiser, if you like Apple, what is it you're looking for? You're looking. I want to trust the product. I need to feel it's relevant, right? That the image is right. It has to have value. It has to be honest, and it's all sort of part of my asset base. And so, I think as a leader, all those things are the key ingredients. And the number one thing is you're not a leader unless people want to follow you. Some people think, well, I'm a leader. And I've heard this as recently as this week on a plane ride back from a trip where the person was, quite frankly, wearing me out on the plane. There was nowhere I could go, but saying, my boss, just like, you do it, you figure it out, just throwing everything at them rather than saying, you know, let's figure this out. Do you have a question? The worst boss you can have is someone that says, here's the assignment, you figure it out. And you know why they do that? Because they don't know how to figure it out, which is a big telling sign. Um, so in my recap, it's about being authentic, being trustworthy. You are part of the team, even though you're the leader, and the people will follow you if you feel that you're all in it together and you're getting the work done as a team. So Ray,
Well,
that's
Tony,
my say.
we agree on an awful lot of that. I mean, all of it. Ultimately, I have maybe some different takes on my experience. I was 31 when I became vice president of Eastern Sales for the ABC television network. And 5 other people in the team pitched it, didn't get it. They were all older than me. And I was like a little bit dropped in. I don't know what your situation is, but I think between Tony and I, you'll hear a little bit of enough to cover it. So I think, one of those things is really important, and Tony said it, but it's authenticity. It's a little bit of, well, one is acceptance, right? You have to accept the team you have. You have to accept the fact that they're not all going to be your best friend or your fan. You have to know and have the confidence that Tony mentioned of, I know what I'm doing. I didn't get here because I wrote a check. I got here because I earned it. I mean, I did the work. And then, I think an awful lot of it is, one of the best compliments I ever got was someone said to me, your team would run through a wall for you. And that's just about being real. I think it's about empathy and caring about every one of those people, the fans, the resenters, the who is this person and why. You still have to be empathic to them and not be too bad. I'm your boss. Get over it. And a little bit of never let them see you sweat. Close the door, or stay downstairs in the lobby an extra minute. But it's nerve-wracking. There's no doubt about it. And you just, it's really, so I guess I would say, authenticity, confidence, and empathy and acceptance are the things that worked for me in my first managerial role. And inside of and that's the other thing, patience, I guess, right? It took me a while because you don't walk in as a boss and have everybody again embrace you. But as you come in every day and do the work, over time, people really like being led. I mean, everybody wants to lead at some point, but everybody can't lead. So delegation's an important part. It's not, here, you do it, because I don't know how to do it, but letting go and trusting that if they're not, one of the greatest pieces of information I ever got was from Dan Burke at Cap Cities. And he said, but our key to success is hire slowly, fire quickly. And that's an important leadership skill, one of the toughest things anyone's ever had to do. For me, I lost an entire Thanksgiving weekend of worry about having to fire a guy on Monday because I don't want to fire him on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and ruin his Thanksgiving. So I ruined my Thanksgiving by worrying about it. And so the rule is still true. Make sure you've got the right team and then let them do their job. And if they don't do it well, it's going to come through your office again, usually before it goes back out. Or if not, then that tells you something about that person. So it's a little bit of a free fall. But,
Emily, you just got promoted, right? So what do you think your brand is, and what do you think your attributes are that got recognized and got you that promotion?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, both of you touched on points that I'm trying to be as a manager, like not just throwing the work, giving the why we're doing certain jobs and creating that relationship and that understanding and that teaching of if something is wrong, not just saying wrong, it's wrong, fix it, but giving why and walking through it. So I've been trying that and getting the promotion. I've been with my company now for 3.5 years. And I think it's a mix of having that knowledge and that growing understanding of the company and what's happening and being a little innovative and changing things. And then also having those relationships, which I think is so important. You might be able to do the work, but if you're not able to build that relationship and share it out and present it in a right way, I don't think you're going to grow. So it's a mix of back end and front facing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And the other thing, which is sort of a side view of what we're talking about, is as an employee, you always have to recognize that you're the owner of your ship, if you will. I learned early on when I was in advertising that no, no one goes to bed at night thinking, how do I help Tony's career, right? Or Emily's career, or his career. You're the one that goes to bed at night thinking, how do I want my career to go? Where do I think it needs to be stepping up? How do I speak up for myself? And that's very important because I had to learn. I thought, well, if you just do your job, and there's a little truth to this, it will just happen organically. But you learn as everyone is very busy that is not as organic as you may want, or the timing may not be as organic as you want. So you can never lose sight that you're sort of the head of your career, and you have to speak up for yourself in a respectful way, so that you're recognized. And if you're at a place that doesn't want to recognize it, and you have confidence in yourself, then you have to find someone who does.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I think also part of it is having a great manager. I think I've been so lucky throughout my career to have great managers who pushed me, and I built that relationship with them where they're my manager but a friend at the same time. So I've been so lucky from Ramon at Comcast all the way up to now. I've had two great managers at the company I've been now, and they're my cheerleaders, like pushing me forward. So it's been, so lucky, and I hope that I will be a manager like that. That is my goal, at least, to be that type of manager who's teaching a cheerleader. And I'm the pilot right now, but the goal is to be like the co-pilot, or the backseat driver, and pushing the people on my team forward.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about learning from good managers because there's nobody who is born a leader. I think there are leadership qualities that are early onset, if you will. Could come from your parents, it could come from high school teachers, college teachers, other students. But there's a lot about once you get into business, game changes a bit, and then keeping an eye on your current boss and what they do. I think is a really good way to go. I always say, I learned what to do and I learned what not to do because I've had all kinds of bosses. And I'm like, okay, note to self, don't do that, or that worked hard. I'll give you one other word that isn't often used, and I think it's really key, and I think we've kind of circled it, but it's vulnerability. And I'll tell you a story. I got to Telemundo as the president of Telemundo Sports. Uh, the gringo from New York dropped in on, I had 1,500 people working for me or some crazy number around the world. And I had a offsite. I got there in September, and in March, I had an offsite. And I saw how great this was going to be and how great some of its vision, the Confederations Cup, the World Cup. And I got emotional. And I had a guy running a day for me. It was like an offsite. His name is Brian Jones, who works for the Table Group. Just a shout out to Brian. He's one of the great guys you could ever bring in for an offsite. And I got emotional. I mean, literally like teary. And we said goodbye, and everybody, I did green margaritas because it was St. Patrick's Day at the end of the day. And I said, well, there goes that job. I had just lost the entire team. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I cried in front of my team. I got emotional. He goes, are you kidding? That is the number one thing a boss can do, is not necessarily get emotional in front of your team, although there are times where that may work. Just be vulnerable. Be like, hey, I'm doing the best I can too. Be real, kind of authenticity, but a little bit more than just being authentic. Being a little vulnerable is okay. You can't be the armor suit knight where everything bounces off you. I mean, you have to be a little real,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's that. On the C level, I guess my first big job was getting promoted into the CEO at Raycom Sports. Tony actually introduced me to the Raycom people. I went there with a 3-year contract and was there for 15 years. So, like Gilligan's Island, a 3-hour tour turned into a 15-year run. But kind of the same thing, which is people are watching. Everybody, people who work, everybody's watching you. So that's a good point that Tony made about you are your brand, which we've talked about. I totally agree. And that everybody's they're watching your performance. So you've got to be confident. Got to be confident and know that you didn't get there by accident, Emily. You did not get therapy, or anybody. I don't. It's like it's a therapy session. But you're doing great work.